10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody. This is Midlife Vices, episode 7. And do we have a special one for you tonight? You might see a third person sitting with us again, and just let me do a quick intro for you here. You might all know Chris Evans from Gathering of the Geeks. Since he's solo, it's just Gathering of the Geek is episode 7. Welcome, Chris. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I think I'm wearing the same shirt in the graphic you made.
Really?
I think
awesome.
so.
Let me see. Oh, yep.
Actually, this is one of my favorite shirts.
That's fantastic.
It's awesome. It's the brand. There you go.
It is.
Thanks for having me on, though. I'm excited to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, really looking forward.
Someone that actually knows TV and movies, you're going to like.
Some stuff.
Yeah,
Some stuff.
knowledge is going through the roof.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. So, what you guys been up to this week? Jim, you watching anything new? Reading anything new?
Let's see. I've read some Turtles.
Uh-huh.
I finished volume 5.
Yes, volume 5. Yeah.
Yeah. The only slow part of that book was the Ghostbusters crossover. It was terrible. So I won't talk about that anymore. But the rest of the book, the main story, is fantastic. I started the next volume, volume 6. It's off to a good start. Old Hob being the main character in that run.
Nice.
Enjoying that. And that's about it. I've watched a lot of Halloween TV here the last few weeks.
Yeah, trying to get ready for the list. That's going to be our show tonight. Is our top 10 Halloween horror related shows, movies, whatever it may be.
Halloweenie.
We'll get to that a bit later, since we're in October, and that's what we've got Chris Evans here tonight to talk about a little bit. But we're going to start with.
It's funny. I made that same joke when I.
I like the joke.
So, what do you been watching or reading? We know that you do your. I just forgot the name of it. I have
Elves, Hobbits, and Potatoes.
Oh, that.
Elves, Hobbits, and Potatoes, which is a fantastic show in addition to your Gathering of the Geeks.
Thank you.
And the Twilight, or not the Twilight, the interview.
Really hurting his rep there, the Twilight.
I've seen them. I don't mind them. They're okay. I don't think we'll have Twilight of the Geeks, though.
No.
I don't think so.
How are you enjoying that show? You don't go too into detail here, but how are you?
I mean, I could, but it might take the whole show. So I'm really enjoying it, though. I think I'm a fan of the books. I'd seen the movie when I was a kid. I was way too young to watch it, but I did. And I've read the book since. So I went into it with some high expectations. And so far, I really like it. They're making a lot of changes, but it's nothing that's like breaking the story or too different, where it's not even the same thing. So I like it. I'm just trying to approach it as its own thing, like its own story.
Right.
I think that's the best way to approach these adaptations.
Is it supposed to be a certain amount of seasons, or is that planned out? Or
well, it already got a second season, and there's 11 books if I counted correctly. I don't remember anymore. I think there's 11 books. So I'm imagine each season, if they have more, will cover a book.
Okay.
Nice. That's what I'm hoping, but we'll see how it goes. They're also introducing another set of characters from Anne Rice's writing, which are the Mayfair Witches. That show comes in January. I haven't read those, but I'll probably watch the show too, because I think they're doing like a Walking Dead sort of universe with all these characters.
Gotcha. Nice. And we hear you talk a lot about shows you watch. What are you reading comics? I've never really seen you post much. I know you posted about the new Spider-Man tonight. I saw that.
That was a fun book.
Yeah.
Comics, I used to really just read from the big two, just Marvel and DC. And then I found lost in comics, actually. And the way Chris and Oscar used to talk about these indie books, like, well, I want to try some indie books. Yeah. And now I mostly read indie stuff. Like I tweeted this Spider-Man book, but I actually also read the new book from Mike Mignola. I might be mispronouncing him. The guy who created Hellboy. He has a new book called Leonide the Vampire. It's like a cutesy kind of spooky book. That was awesome. And then I also read Detective Comics last week. I caught up. I was a few issues behind because like Batman books are always a staple for me. I'm always going to read the Batman books.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to Marvel, I typically just read the X-Men, Moon Knight, Captain America, stuff like that.
Right.
I like the variety of comics, though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think both Jim and I have been cutting back on the number of floppies we've been reading. But like you said with Batman, even though Batman's not my favorite character, the two books that I'll get, I think, no matter if I was to cut everything else back, are going to be Amazing Spider-Man and the main Batman title. No matter if I stopped everything else or not, just because. I mean,
So is the main Batman title Detective or Batman?
it's Batman.
Okay. I honestly kind of know.
Detective usually turns out to be more of a team up type book. I mean, it does get some solo stories in there, but it also explores a lot more of the Bat family than the main Bat title does, for the most part.
Yeah, it really varies writer to writer. The current run
does.
right now it's kind of funny. It's switched. The Batman title is more Bat family at the moment, and Detective is more Batman focused.
Right.
They've kind of switched at the moment.
Yeah.
So they're both really good.
Yeah, I'm not reading Detective. I cut that out a while ago.
You didn't
No
like the
real
Tamaki
reason.
run?
Not really. Honestly, I probably couldn't tell you what was happening during it. One of the things about me, and Jim talks about this all the time, is when it comes to remembering stuff that's actually happening in books, like I know it and I remember that I liked it or didn't like it, but I don't always remember the details. So, yeah, that's kind of my.
Yeah, the finer details, those are the ones you forget the quickest, I think. Like
Yeah.
I can remember the bulk of a storyline, but ask me what they said on page 7, I don't know.
I don't know. Listening to your elves, hobbits, and potatoes, you kind of remember all
That's
the
all
details.
Emmett is a great host, and he makes these little notes, and it jogs the memory.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't know how you guys remember so much stuff. I mean, I can't. So I've been listening to Elvis Hobbits and Potatoes after I watch the shows, which I'm only through 4 now, I think. And you're bringing up stuff. It's like, I don't even remember if that happened. Who was that? And names? I mean, you guys may mispronounce them, but at least you come close.
We have no idea how to pronounce anything.
So this was actually one of the things I was going to ask you. Get into talking about with you is how you remember that stuff. Do you take a lot of notes while you're watching? Do you watch it more than once to get this stuff? How exactly do you know and catch on to all this stuff?
Well, so we've done we have the 3 audio podcasts right now, which we did Moon Knight, we have the Elves, Hobbits, and Potatoes, and we have an interview with the Geek. So for Moon Knighting, I was just in love with the show, so I'd seen the episodes more than once before we would record. Not because I wanted notes and stuff, but I just wanted to watch it. And
Gotcha.
so it was also a shorter show, so it was easier for me. With this one in particular, Elves, Hobbits, or Rings of Power, I generally watch it once, but Emmett watches it multiple times, usually twice, and he takes notes. Right. I always mean to take notes, but I get too wrapped up in what's going on, and I can't stop.
Because I was listening to the most recent this morning, and you guys were talking about Isildur, and I never even realized that in Fellowship he was the one who found the ring first. It just didn't register. Like when I think about the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, it's I know the main characters. I know Galadriel, and I know the main characters that are in this one. So I know the names I know are Galadriel, Elrond, and Durin. And that's it. And the other ones from the main trilogy, I couldn't tell you the ones that are back in this one. So for you guys to catch that, there must be a little. I know you guys say you don't have any knowledge of it. That was kind of what you said going in, but there must be some research you're doing, or that knowledge is there and you're just able to recall it really easy because it
My
amazes
wife
me.
picked up on it too. I don't know
Did
how
she?
she did it. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing, like, I'm not doing any research really because I don't want spoilers.
Right.
I'm not a spoiler guy most of the time, so I'm trying my best to stay away from that. But what I did do after, I think the second or third episode, I went back and rewatched the opening to Fellowship because I
Okay.
couldn't remember how the ring came to be and why there were multiple rings and all that. So I watched like the
Gotcha.
first 10 minutes or so. But that's about
Okay.
as much research as I've done.
Gotcha.
So the rest of it is just, I guess, knowledge that was waiting to be needed, I suppose.
Sure. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, me retaining stuff is so bad. And Duran, I remember
He's
Duran.
also younger than us, though.
That's true. That's true. Give him 10 years.
We'll
I
see
remember
where we're at.
Duran because that's what they had to use to open the door to the mountain. Right? Was on the last son of or the last light of Duran's day is when they had to line up to open up the mountain to get in.
I didn't remember that. And then when you said it, I still didn't remember it. But I was like, okay, Steve knows what he's talking about, so we're going to correct on the next episode.
So I knew that one. Now my question now is, what I'm finding interesting is we find out that he's Doran, but we also find out that he's like the fifth Doran.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know if he's the one the day is named after or if it's somebody else. And then when he's talking to Elrond, we see that, or he says, I go by another name that I share, and he starts to share it, but he never does. We never get to that. So I'm curious to see what name he comes out with, if it's going to be something we recognize.
Ernie. It's going to be Ernie.
That would be awesome.
That would be,
His name is
That
Ernie
would
the
be
Dwarf.
amazing.
Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
There you go. Roll out. So
Yeah.
my thing with the dwarves are, and I don't know if this has ever been answered, but I don't know how long they live. Because I was thinking about that too. He's not the only Durin, but maybe they live longer than a human or a Harfoot would.
Right.
Of course, not as long as the elves do, because I don't think they technically die. They just take the boat to
Sail
Valhalla
off,
or wherever
yeah.
it is. So I was curious about that too. How old do dwarves typically live to?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know on that one at all.
I Googled it one time. It's got a whole bunch of circus stats.
That's funny. I like that, Jim. Okay, I gotta call you out on something here, Chris.
Okay.
So there was a tweet you posted a couple days ago, and I'm going to quote it here. Whoa, Hellraiser is just as terrific as the reviews and everyone else has been saying. I wasn't expecting to enjoy that as much as I did. My only complaint is that I didn't like any of the characters, but that's fine. Great stuff. So how can you like a show and think it's that great, but not like any of the characters? How is that possible?
So, because this was my mindset when I was watching, like, okay, I think we're supposed to root for them all to die. I think that's what we were supposed to do. Because none of them, I didn't think they were likable at all. I thought all of them were just, not horrible humans, but not somebody I want to root for except for one character. And of course, when it gets to the villain, of course you're going to hate the villain. But the rest of the guys are like, okay, well, I'm just kind of hoping they die horribly.
Okay, so it wasn't like you didn't like the characters. You just didn't have any likable characters.
Right.
So it's not that you didn't like them the way they acted or the way they were portrayed in the show. It's just, okay, that makes more sense. Gotcha. I thought you meant like I didn't like the way any of the characters were played or...
No.
But I love the show.
I hated the plot, I hated the characters, I hated the cinematography, but that movie was fantastic.
The only thing I liked was the score. That was it.
Yeah, it was
just the score.
top notch.
Just the one part of it at the end.
The music moved me.
It did. It moved me to tweet a positive review. Positive tomato or fresh tomato, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Non-rotten tomato.
Yeah, not
Nice.
just not rotten.
Nice. All right, so
Yeah. All right.
I've been watching Rings of Power. I've been watching House of the Dragon. The most recent episode I thought was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The king actually being a king for the first time that they've showed him. I'm kind of having trouble with the time jumps. I don't mind them, but it's moving along pretty quickly for me. They're aging everybody like they did a few weeks ago, and then this one was I don't know how many years in the future, but it had to be a couple more, right? Because the boys were probably went from being 11 or 12 to 17 or 18.
I saw I saw a tweet from, I guess, someone on the show. They aged them up to be 17 to 21 years old now, all the kids. So however many years that would be, I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. So another 4 or 5 years then. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. They're moving right along.
Yeah.
But no, it was the best episode I think yet. It was really, for me anyway. Are you enjoying the show?
I'm like 50-50 with it. There's stuff I like, but then there's a lot of stuff I don't. Primarily, and I've said this before, but and it was in this one too. The incest is like celebrated in this show. And I just can't get behind it. It's just weird to me.
It's because you don't have a hot sister.
I guess, or a cousin, I suppose. You know.
But I think if you go back and you look at even Middle Ages, real stories, I think that royalty married off within the family a lot.
Yes.
So now they do some stuff just for shock value, like dude standing on the balcony.
That's my thing.
Yeah, that was
the
a
shock
little
value
excessive.
stuff.
Right.
That is like that, the incest, and then they're just not. Something about the story doesn't work for me all the time. But like if I look at it as a whole, yes, I'm enjoying it. I like it, and I'm with you. This past episode, fantastic.
Yeah, it was good. Jim may get to it someday. No, is your wife through?
She has not started that.
No, is she through Game of Thrones yet, or is she still working?
Yeah,
on that?
she is. Yeah, she finished Game of Thrones.
Oh, she finished it. Okay.
That's an addicting show. Like once you start, you start like at 7 o'clock. It's 6 a.m. and you just finished the first season.
Right.
I watched the first season, started the second season, got 3 episodes in, and haven't started again. That was when it first came out. So.
Right. And then the other thing I watched that I loved last week was She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So having Daredevil on, not that it was him being on the show that made it great, but they finally gave her something to do. Well, literally, I guess. But they gave her some story. They gave her some personality outside of it. And the chemistry between those two was just fantastic. It was laugh out loud for me. The back and forth between them.
I want more of that.
Yeah,
I want to see them together again on screen. I think this was the best episode, but not because of him. I also really liked the previous episode a ton.
yeah.
That was great too. But this one, I mean, seeing Daredevil is always good to me.
Right. And just their back and forth, their banter was fantastic. Yeah, so good. Cool.
Now you are watching Ghosts as well, right, Steve?
Oh yeah.
Those first 2 episodes of the second season have been fantastic.
Episode 2 was really good. Episode 1 was really good. Episode 2 we were cracking up so bad. It was really funny.
Have you watched any of that, Chris?
I haven't got to it. I'm still working my way through Miracle Workers.
Oh, how
That's
far
my
into that
comedy
are you?
thing. I have the finale of the first season to get to.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking that one slow. Also, since it's October, I have a lot to watch. Certain things are on hold.
Yeah, understandable.
But I
Trust
do
me,
like it.
I can't say anything about people not watching stuff.
So you seem to know a lot about a lot of the not behind the scenes, but directors and actors' names and stuff like that when it comes to movies.
Mm-hmm.
How is that just something that you do?
Something that
You just retain that stuff?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, as a kid, I watched a lot of TV, a lot of movies. So it's just been like, it's part of me, I suppose, to watch things and retain certain knowledge. Like, I remember as a kid, when Chris O'Donnell was cast as Robin for Batman Forever, I wanted to see what else he was in.
Right.
And at the time, I was maybe like 8 or 9, I think. So it's just been always something I've been into. Even like we were talking about the Vampire earlier, the TV series for the movie. After I saw, I was like, well, who is Brad Pitt? What else is he in?
Right.
And I was even younger at the time.
I mean, I guess if I think about movies and stuff in my youthier days, I remembered a lot more actors' names than I do now. But I was never, as far as the directors and stuff went, that was never kind of my thing. I mean, I don't know, Jim, what your thoughts are on that for you. But
I was going to say, when I was younger, there wasn't as many movie
No.
stars. You know,
No.
we had Arnold, we had Sylvester Stallone. You know, so
Yeah, you had like four action, 4 drama,
yeah, so I think it was
and Jim
easier
Carrey.
because at one time I considered myself a movie buff,
Yeah.
and we used to play a game when I was working on an assembly line at one time that we would give actors and the year the movie come out, and then you would just have to guess it. You know, that's what we would do to kill time, and it was a lot of fun and a lot easier than it would be for me now.
Right.
You know, like now I couldn't tell you a director of a Marvel movie. I have no clue. You know, so
Right.
and it's just, I guess it's not important to me anymore. I watch things at face value. How do I feel about this? If I don't like it, it's not going to stop me from watching something else that he does that I might be interested in. So,
Well, you know, I'm the same kind of with comics too. When it comes to, I mean, I usually know who the writer is, but when it comes to the artist and stuff, that's stuff that I can't identify. I mean, I know I like it. Usually, I know who they are if I don't like it, and I avoid it. But the ones I do like, I don't really, I can't identify or even really pay attention. And I guess that's bad on me. But yeah, it's kind of the same with movies and TV now too.
I do find it
It's an
harder
age
with
thing.
comics to remember the names
Yeah.
of the writers and artists. That I am not as good with.
Right.
because there's so many independent books now.
Right.
So
It's impossible for me.
yeah, until one breaks through to the main two, it is hard to
Yeah,
keep
for
them
sure.
straight.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Nice. Okay. Well, that's a good start here. Found out a little bit about you. I still want to get into. I always want to say Guardians of the Galaxy. You guys just had to screw with us on that one, didn't you?
It works though, right? It stays in your
It
head.
does. It's very memorable. But first, we are going to get to our next segment.
You have a mail message.
Nope, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. Not that one yet.
Your postman is sexy.
I know. That was next is our news and rumors. I forgot I didn't have a lead in for that other than the ticker down there. First news here we got is Angela Lansbury today passed away at age 96. Of course, she starred in Murder, She Wrote, most famous for that, and Bed Knobs and Broomsticks is probably her most well-known movie back in the day. Good age to
I
live
did not know that.
too. Yeah, I just saw a thing like 4 hours ago on Twitter. So, passed away.
Did you guys watch Murder, She Wrote?
I did. Well, my parents watched it. I watched it with them,
I watched.
and I actually liked it. That
I
was
like
a lot of
Matlock
murders.
better.
A lot of murders for a small town.
I know.
Like Cabot Cove is not a place I would move to.
No, the crime rate's off the charts.
Yeah,
When you hear something called something Cove, you automatically think it's going to be nice.
yeah. You would think so.
Or deadly.
I mean,
Right.
or you could be a crazy fisherman living at the Cove. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next piece of news and rumors. It's possible that a Daredevil Peacemaker crossover is on its way. This came out on some random page today. Likely to be titled Daredevil Peacemaker, You Can't See Me.
I hope Mel Brooks directs that one.
That would be awesome.
We need a
That
Mel
would be
Brooks superhero film.
Hopefully that wasn't too soon on the blind joke, but
Well, see, now I have to take a note because I have to talk about something later.
do you? Okay. Well, you can
Mel
talk about
Brooks.
it now if you want.
No, because it has to do with our list.
Oh, gotcha. That was our short and sweet news and rumors section. All right. So, how did you guys get started, Chris, with Gathering of the Geeks?
So Emmett and I met when we were doing reviews for another show, or it was actually a channel and a website called Let's Go Podcast, and we did comic reviews. So Emmett and I became friends through that. That's also how we met our buddies Nico and Zeddy. And so Emmett and I, of course, just kind of formed a friendship. And one random day, Emmett was like, "Hey," I think it was a Saturday night. He's like, "Anybody want to do a live stream?" It's like, "Yeah, I'll do one with you." And so that kind of set everything in motion because from that weekend on, we were doing the show every week. At the time, it was called Let's Go Live, and the idea would be, I thought of it as kind of like a talk show. We would be like Conan O'Brien and Andy Richter. How they would be together on every show as the host.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the concept, and we would have guests come on. And then once we split from Let's Go, there was a couple of month period where like, well, what do we do now? Do you still want to do something? And that's how we settled on Gathering of the Geeks.
Gotcha.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, man.
It's fun. We enjoy it.
It's a fun show. I don't always. Well, I've only made it live. I think once, twice. Getting 2 nights a week isn't always the easiest thing to do. Just because of scheduling. Well, not that I have a schedule, but just scheduling TV time with my wife and stuff like that. And Sunday nights is usually either Walking Dead. So you guys air right when Walking Dead is coming out. Or Sunday Night Football's on too. Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. I mean, we're airing when. I don't know what's on Tuesday. I don't even know what's on Tuesdays anymore.
Home Improvement.
Days of the week don't matter much with TV anymore.
No, they don't.
But I generally get to rewatch, and what I hate is that I want to type in the chat, and you can't do that during rewatch. So Jim gets all the fun of being a smartass by himself.
We appreciate it though.
Yeah, but no, definitely. The 2 shows that I watch full time or almost full time are you and LSD.
Yeah, 2 shows that I watch anyway.
Yeah. Cool. Good show. You guys, you mentioned Zeddy, and I'm sitting here talking about how much you know about TV and movies and stuff, and then Zeddy's just on another level.
Zeddy, he is like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Because Zeddy knows the indie movies and stuff too, whereas I don't. I used to watch them a lot, but over time I kind of strayed away from them. I didn't have as much time to watch them and stuff. But lately I've been getting back into them, and his knowledge of these things is amazing. And his recommendations are always pretty solid for me.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Chris. Your wife, does she watch with you? I'm assuming you're married. I don't even know.
Yes.
Okay. I know you have a daughter, but I don't,
Some stuff she does, it kind of varies. We have different tastes. Like, I would pretty much watch everything. She likes the most grotesque kind of horror possible. Not always my thing. As many serial killers as you can put on one show, we'll watch that. Or she'll watch that. Whereas I kind of just watch anything. But like Game of Thrones that we watch together, House of the Dragon, Interview with the Vampire we're watching together, certain stuff.
I get a kick out of that. We have different tastes. I like everything. She likes some stuff.
Yes. That's kind of what it is. I will watch pretty much anything.
I think that's a wife thing is they love. I don't know anybody's wife that we're familiar with that doesn't like the serial killer shows, or is your wife into like Dateline and stuff like that too, or
She
all those
used
kind
to
of the real life, the true crime type stuff?
Oh yeah, there was this one called The First 48, I think. She was a big fan of that one, where they would take 48 hours to solve a murder in real time or something like that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm always worried she's planning like the future for me.
They're taking notes. That's what they're doing. They're taking notes. As soon as you come home with the wrong type of milk one day, the plan it kicks in.
There you go. Well, Jim, you're in big trouble because your wife, she watches Game of Thrones, so you might come to a very painful end.
And she's my cousin.
There you go.
That saves you, though.
What's that?
That's going to save you if she's your cousin.
That's true.
It saves you that way.
Okay. I'll stay safe.
Yeah, you're safe.
Right. Now we are going to move on.
Oh, yes. Wow.
You show me yours, and I'll show you mine. Chris, you're the guest, so what do you got for us this week?
Before I do that, I didn't realize that's the same voice that's on the letters, too.
It is.
I just picked that up.
Yeah.
Well.
That's
my wife. I knew it sounded familiar. But I thought it was just the words.
My wife makes all the audio files.
Oh, okay.
I knew it sounded familiar.
Yeah, but in between taking notes of how to murder Steve, she's
That's right. That might be a random one.
So, my show and tell is this Mafex Dark Knight Batman figure I have.
Nice.
I adore this thing. He's my favorite figure in my collection right now. He has a wired cape, so you get him into all kinds of cool poses. It'll usually I have him like fanned out like that. He's super posable, and I just love this thing. He is my favorite, and he comes with a bunch of accessories. So that's usually how I keep him displayed. But the box, I don't know if you can see it. There's all kinds of crap in here. You got different heads. You got all kinds of weapons, different hands, tiny batarangs. You're sure to lose if you ever take them out of the box.
Cool.
I love
that's what I hate about accessories. Do they all have the little tape over them?
No, these ones don't. So they're even loose in the box. Like if you don't put the box back together correctly, they go everywhere. Yeah.
Are you a save the box kind of guy?
Lately I am. I don't know why, but I love saving the boxes. Yes.
Yeah.
And especially with these figures, the Mayfex, because they come with so many accessories, you will lose them if you don't have the box.
Sure.
I have a coffee cup. I put bonus weapons and stuff in. I don't know what goes to who, but
that's a better idea though, because the boxes take up space.
So the G.I. Joe classified figures, I've saved all my boxes, and I have no idea why. Probably because I'm just too lazy to take them outside and burn them. But
they look cool too, though.
Yeah, well, but I don't look at them. They're in a chest,
Oh, well, yeah, I get that. Mine are on the floor next to the computer, so.
It's the exact same reason that I stopped buying floppies, because they were just sitting in a box. I never look at them again. So
that's why I've switched to digital. They're all in these cubby holes around my desk for no reason, so I just go to digital.
I can't. I can do digital for back issue stuff, for older stuff. I can't bring myself to do it for newer stuff yet. I just there's something about, well, it's the same as music and stuff, I guess, too. I still prefer to have the physical media with me. I still watch most stuff on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever. I don't stream a whole lot of stuff. I'm starting to now. I guess I'm moving into the 20th century, but yeah, it just doesn't have the same feel, but doesn't come across the same to me just yet. I mean, I know it's more efficient, it's cheaper, it's a lot of people love it. I just can't do it quite yet.
I think there's a big difference in quality when you talk about a movie on Blu-ray or a series on Blu-ray versus streaming it. And a lot of people, they feel like, well, you have to have a trained eye for it, which maybe you do. But I think some movies, it's really clear it looks better when you have a physical copy.
Yes.
So, I've already forgot what I was going to say. But reading digitally, so I do it to discover stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like our pay for Amazon, the Unlimited, whatever. And I'll go and I'll find as much stuff, and I'll find something I love, and then I will stop reading it, and then I will go buy physical. So that's what I did with the Turtles. I did that with Hoopla, but so
yeah. I never thought I would change. I never thought I would get away from floppies and go to trades and hardcovers, but I love the hardcover format so much. I like getting 5 or 6 stories in a row.
That's what I like. I don't like having to remember what I read. We've talked about this. I just read this comic. Okay, I can read the next one and know what's going on. So,
right. So, what do you got for us this week, Jim?
I posted them on Twitter, but I will. So, my favorite action figures growing up were these two guys, the Crimson Twins, Tomax and Zaymot. They come with a little skyline that I don't have. I would like to pick that up. Anyway, I recently bought their 6-inch figures.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and they come with some nice knives and a couple of guns with silencers, I think. And, of course, then I have their first appearance in the comics.
Oh, cool.
So
that's cool.
By the way, those frames are the best frames. You can't beat them.
I don't like them as much.
Really?
I prefer the they're hard plastic that you drop them in.
Oh, gotcha. The top loaders?
Top loaders, thank you. Yeah, I prefer those.
Well, I mean, those are just so easy to hang on the wall right there, though.
So when we got hit by the tornado last year, those are everything that was like that came flying off the wall, where my normal stuff didn't. So,
Well, remember, you can always go to BCW Supplies and input the code Lost in Comics and save 10% off of the 50% more you'll pay than you would on Amazon. So, if you need more of those, go get them.
Are those figures made by Hasbro?
yes.
Okay. Because you said they come with guns. It's the McFarlanes, I don't think come with guns anymore, and Mafex do not come with guns anymore.
So I also just got the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle 2-pack from McFarlane, and Blue Beetle has his grappling gun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Is that something McFarlane stopped recently?
It's a DC thing. They don't want their characters to have weaponry anymore. But, I mean, you look at someone like the Red Hood, he's got guns. Or, like, I have I don't know if you can see him, but that Hush Joker that's back there, the Mafex Hush Joker, he was advertised to come with a long pistol, like from the comic that said bang at the end.
Right.
Well, DC put that, I guess that statement or whatever in motion before his actual release. So he shipped without the gun. And it's very annoying.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I have a feeling I know why McFarlane quit doing the guns is because I have about 30 McFarlane figures and not one of them could hold a gun properly. So he was probably just like, screw it, we'll just get rid of them.
Ironically, he released a weapons pack recently.
I know. Yeah.
Which to me is funny.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, you want to buy a bag of guns? Here you go.
All right. Yep. All right. You show me yours since we are in October. This is actually not mine. This is my wife's. But this is Pennywise, of course, from It.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice figure. She's got a whole collection. Jim knows this, Chris. You probably don't. My wife collects Stephen King, loves Stephen King, and Wizard of Oz. So Stephen King, Wizard of Oz, those are her two things. And she's got almost half of the collectibles room, and then I get the other half. But I got a garage too.
So it wouldn't surprise me if Chris either was an expert on both those subjects or had never seen The Wizard of Oz or anything by Stephen King.
Let's place the bets now.
Yeah.
I think he's never seen Wizard of Oz.
I've seen it. What I was going to say, though, it's funny that those are the two she picks because they couldn't be more different. The Wizard of Oz and Stephen King, one of the masters of horror.
Yes. Yeah, she's got, I think, all of his current books, or all of his books that aren't. I think she's missing like two of the book club books that were like $1,100 or something. They were book club exclusives or something like that. But
I didn't know they get that expensive.
Oh yeah. Well, if most of those are like signed exclusives, yeah, first print signed exclusives, so they get pretty pricey. But those are her two loves. All right, well, that was.
Oh yes, wow.
I will show you mine. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, that's going to take us right into this week's viewer mail. We got a lot of people from New York. It's amazing how many people are from New York that are sending in letters to us. The first one is George. George from New York. This is for Chris. He says, I can't believe you haven't seen Jaws or E.T. Are you crazy? Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, since George is from New York, it would probably also upset George that I've never seen The Godfather 2 either.
Neither.
I've never seen any Godfather movie.
Oh, okay, cool. So George hates us all then.
Yes.
Okay.
I would imagine.
And George either.
Damn it, George.
But I think I mentioned this on Twitter the other day. I think the ET's probably been built up too much. It's probably better you don't watch it because I can't see how it could possibly meet your expectations now.
Well, it's one of those, like, that happened with the Goonies. Because I actually just recently watched the Goonies within the last 5 years. And that movie was built up so much. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is it, huh?
I'm the exact same. So
Goonies is one of those. Oh, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
I've just watched in the last 5 years as well.
Right.
Just one that slipped by me because it was perfect in my time, being a kid. And was nowhere near as good as I was expecting it to be.
Well, you got to realize at the time, all the stars in that show were at their peak. Like, every kid in school knew who every one of those people were. So I think that makes a big difference. And so we look back with nostalgia at it, and it's better than it actually was because we saw it when it first came out. So, but with E.T., I think E.T. still would stand up. I think you would really
I
enjoy
think it
that.
was E.T.
But like I said, now it's kind of at that point where you probably almost feel pressure to watch it because you don't want to have a bad reaction to it.
Nah, I mean, it's one of the things I know I'm going to get to. I think if it were on a streaming service, I would have already watched it. That's the thing. I don't want to pay for it, so if I find it, I will watch it.
Gotcha. Okay. Next letter, Barney from New York. For Jim. Have you met Ted?
Have I what?
Have you met Ted?
Oh, yeah. I had.
You have.
I was like, who the hell's Peg?
Oh, sorry.
Peg from New York.
Chris from Pawnee says, you guys are literally the worst YouTube channel I've ever seen. Well, thank you, Chris. We appreciate that. Any feedback? At least you're watching. At least you're watching. We got some balance to that, though. JJ from Chicago. This show is Dynamite. So we appreciate that as well. And then the last one we've got here, Arnold from New York. For me, what you talking about, Steve? Well, Arnold, we're talking about TV, movies. We're going to get into some Halloween stuff here in a minute. I appreciate your letter, and keep them coming. Keep them coming. And next time I'll
have a mail message.
The clip first, but what are you going to do? All right. That is anything anybody wants to add before we get to our list about anything so far?
No, I'm good.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Different strokes for different folks. That's right. Absolutely. If that wasn't so soon, I would have said nice callback, but that was like.
At least he thought of it. It completely flew by me.
So we're going to do. I think we should do an end of year where to see how many people actually realize who we're talking about. Yeah, maybe not end of the year. Maybe by then we'll have 4 viewers left. Hey, we had 35 last week, which no matter, I don't know how many of those were ours, but we're getting back up around our premiere week numbers there.
Yeah,
I guess we got to
keep them in mind because I go in and make sure all the edits happen, and I can't do it at the same time. I got to do it twice to increase the viewership.
Right. Yeah, it was mostly for Chris. Let's not lie.
Yes.
Lost in Comics was that's where we're going. We're going with guests every week. We're gonna next we're going for Katy Perry. She has a few follows, so I think if we can get Katy Perry on, we're gonna hit probably 40 or 50 views.
Well, that'll change the you show me yours, you show me mine.
Oh, that would definitely change that segment, right?
She kind of looks like the character on there.
Modeled after.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Depending on which wig she's wearing on the day. All right. So this week's top 10, as I mentioned, is our top 10 Halloween shows, movies, horror-related stuff, whatever you may have. I'm going to start this off by saying that I'm not a huge horror guy. This list was by far the most difficult I've had to make coming up with 10 choices. But I think I got some pretty good ones. But we're going to go ahead and start off with Chris with his number 10.
Okay. So when you guys told me this, I decided to look at everything horror that I enjoy. So that included like movies, TV, comics, video games, whatever. Perfect. So this is my top 10, I think. But number 10.
Nothing is set in stone.
Right. Number 10 is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series, not the movie.
Oh, love it. Love it. So you went specifically with the entire series. Okay, I like that. Yeah.
I love the series. It's one of my favorite things ever. I would say probably my top 10 favorite series.
I'm with you.
It's a big one for me, and it's spooky content, which I'm all, it's my thing. I like it, and it was one of those shows, I think, that was good pretty much from the first season to the last season.
Yes.
There are some episodes, of course, it's better than others, but that's any show.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
This is something I consistently kept coming back to. So that's my number 10.
Yeah, it was. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Jim. You liked Angel more than you like Buffy, right? Or you watched it more than
one episode of Buffy.
Oh yeah.
I've
Right.
watched one season of Angel, and I only watched
Right.
that because of Carissa Carpenter. So
Charisma, yeah. Yeah, she was great. And like I said, if you like her, she's in Buffy like a lot. So
well, everyone I know seems to love the show, so I should probably watch it.
it is literally, well, not literally. I'm going to use literally like the kids use literally because I'm pretty hip. It is literally Scooby-Doo live action. Like,
It is.
yeah.
And it's not just vampires, because I think that's... Well, I remember when I got into it as a kid, I was like, okay, well, it's going to be vampires every week. It's actually not. There's a lot more to it. There's different kinds of monsters. There's a whole musical episode, which is probably one of the best ever in the whole show.
Right. All right, Jim, you're number 10.
My number 10 is a movie, one of two on my list, and it's Nightmare on Elm Street, first movie. Probably the only franchise that horror that I've seen more than 2 movies of. What was the? I almost replaced this with the one where they all play their real selves. The New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I almost put that up because I really enjoyed that. I love stuff
Wes
like
Craven's
that.
New Nightmare, where they go.
But I
from
think
being
I have to go with the original. It
Gotcha.
probably
Good.
Well, it's not quite my favorite horror movie because I have one more on this list. But
Right.
yeah, that's it for me.
That
Wes
is a good
Craven, the Fresh Prince had a great song about it.
It does.
He does. Yes.
Nightmare
Yeah.
on My Street. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I don't
That's
know
great.
if it's great, but it's pretty good. I enjoyed
No,
it.
it's fun. I remember the first time I heard Nightmare on My Street. It was at a church camp, and they were doing skits, and some of the kids did that one, and one of them was dressed up like Freddy and was lip syncing to that song. So it was pretty
Nice.
cool. Yeah. All right, my number 10 is from a sitcom. It's Cheers, season 3 episode. It's called Fairy Tales Can Come True. So in this episode, Cliff is dressed up. They're all dressed up in costume. Cliff is dressed up with a mask on, and he meets a lady who is dressed up like Tinkerbell. They both have their masks on. Well, Cliff is very shy, not good interacting, but he's able to do it with the masks on. They decide to go out on a date, and then they have to meet each other without their masks, and they're both really nervous, and stuff happens. Just a great episode. This is the second Cheers episode I've mentioned that's focused on Cliff, and I didn't think he was a character I liked as much as the rest, but some of my favorite episodes are focused on him. So
I watched this episode for this list.
uh-huh.
It didn't make my list, but
No.
Probably because I fell asleep, and not
Yeah.
not because it's bad, just because of,
Well, it's actually one of the only times that Norm and Cliff, you get to see how good of friends they actually are. Like Norm really gets behind Cliff and supports him on the whole thing, which you don't see a lot because it's usually Cliff's the butt of all the jokes. But so that is my number 10 Halloween episode.
nice.
Number 9 for you,
Nice.
Chris.
So my number 9, we were talking about Stephen King earlier, and if I've watched
Uh-huh.
anything, number 9 for me is It. But I'm good with either version. I kind of like them equally, so they're both my number 9.
Gotcha.
So the movie and the book.
Choices.
No, the two versions.
Both
of the-
versions of the
Oh,
movies.
I haven't seen either.
Oh, you haven't? I love them. I think they're really entertaining. And Pennywise, the Tim Curry version, is I prefer the Tim Curry one, but at the same time, I like the Bill Skarsgård one a lot. I think he's very creepy, and the things they do with him is very interesting because, technology, and it's been so many years between the films. So they're both
Right.
pretty good. And I think the child actors in both versions, fantastic. You really can't go wrong with those kids in either one. The adult versions, though, I think are better with the Andy Muschietti version, which is the more recent one. You had like Bill Hader. I think Jessica Chastain was in it, if I remember correctly.
So
And
in
a
chapter
few
2,
other-
you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
would be my number.
I thought they changed it just enough. Like it was, it was the same character and all that kind of stuff. But they changed the plot and stuff
Mhm.
enough to make quite a bit. And it was a totally different movie. But yeah, just really good. I just remember it's the first time seeing Pennywise during the original movie, like at the end when you first see him.
Yeah.
Or when the spider thing, the whole tarantula, right? Or is it
That was
tarantula?
cool. Yeah, he's kind of like a tarantula spider creature.
Yeah, because he's got the legs or whatever. So
Yeah, I'd say he's like a tarantula, sure.
but it was just so cheesy. I mean, looking at it now, it was so cheesy. That's one of those things like Goonies for you, where if you didn't see it when it first came out, it probably wouldn't hit the same because of just how it looks. But
So is Stephen King to blame for the fear of clowns, like Steven
Yes.
Spielberg did for Jaws for sharks?
Is he? I don't know.
Yeah,
There's also Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
that's true. And that was first, right?
I believe it was, and that one is much gorier. Like the clowns were
Yeah.
collecting people.
That's true.
I haven't seen that either. So.
Not so much. It sounds more fun than it is.
It does actually sound kind of fun.
It sounds fun. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Cool.
It's like Insane Clown Posse or something.
Yes, Juggalos.
Yeah, which I had no idea how weird that whole thing was until.
Oh, you should watch one of
Yeah.
their movies.
No.
It'll be like on one of
I'm
the
just
top
gonna
10
say it,
worst
no.
ever.
Well, they were in wrestling for a while too,
Yes, they were.
in WCW back in the day.
Mhm.
Insane Clown Posse wrestled.
Wow, no clue.
Nice. Number 9, Jim.
All right, number
for
9
you.
for me is the movie Scream.
Ah,
Probably, yeah, it's my favorite horror movie. And it's mostly for the humor and the parody.
right.
I enjoy that. I don't know if it's parody, whatever the fancy word is.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, I enjoy almost everything about that movie. It makes me laugh, particularly the Sharon Stone references and the ending. I just think are just brilliant.
Right. Well, looking at the two movies you listed, or no, you listed the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but you talked about the Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and that's kind of along the similar line. I mean, it's a totally different movie, but kind of along the similar lines where they're making fun of, or they don't believe in the horror. Or, they're not taking it seriously, and then they get drawn into actual horror about halfway through or so. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that you like both of those.
Yep.
Scream was great. I loved it when it came out.
I
It's
did
a
too.
classic.
I mean, the whole Drew Barrymore dying in the first act is just or opening scene, whatever, 10 minutes. It was brilliant.
And it's so vicious, especially when you watch the director's cut where it was a little bit gorier.
I didn't even know there was a director's cut.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer, and if I remember correctly, it's mostly just more violent. So in that case specifically, you saw more of the damage done to her from the kill.
Yeah, just a great movie.
Nice. All right, my number 9 is The Omen. Creepy movie. What was it, 1970 something for the original? Maybe early 80s. No, it was definitely 70s. And it's kind of like all the movies were back then. Kid possessed. Name is Damien, and now Damien. From that movie, I think Damien usually now comes to represent evil.
Yes.
And I think it's all based strictly on that character from that movie. Just a creepy movie.
You think the older movies are scarier because lack of technology, not more gritty? I guess.
I think at the time, more scary to what people were seeing. I mean, going back and watching them, a lot of them, I don't know, just the cinematography and stuff is so poor. A lot of them don't hold up today, but not for me anyway. But I think at the time, watching them, they were scarier than watching a scary movie now is for the first time, if that makes sense.
I think the intention is different these days because it feels like, and this is why I stopped watching modern horror films for a long time because I was tired of them. It seems like they go more for shock and awe and jump scares than they do what I consider real horror, which is you're going to watch that movie, go
Right.
home, and you're trying to sleep, and you're thinking about Damien knocking on your window. You know,
Right.
where Salem's Lot when the kid is at the window
Yes.
of his friend scratching it.
Yeah.
To me, that's horror, not so much. You jump in your seat and you laugh about it a second later, like, that was fun.
And they were story based. They were character based. They weren't
Right.
like you said, the shock value. Let's be as gory or as let's throw a twist in there. Everything now is about the twist or the
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So yeah,
They relied on characters.
yeah, they did.
I got to kick off Nightmare on Elm Street. Poltergeist is my number 10.
Oh, you just thought of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, just him talking about you got to go home and
Right.
stop thinking about that. I just remember staring at a TV and I was like, "There's ghosts in the TV," So anyway,
Right. Cool. All right. That takes us to your number 8, Chris.
My number 8 is, so I had to make sure this was even considered horror, but it's Alien, the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
I know it's a little different. I don't think it's really considered, like, it's not in the same realm, I guess, as It or some of the other stuff on my list. But Alien, to me, is genuinely creepy because of what you don't see and the tension that's there throughout that movie of this creature just stalking these poor people who have nowhere to go.
Yep.
And then, of course, that final shot, or not the final, but toward the end when you see the alien is in the escape pod with her,
Right.
that is just cinema, I guess,
Yeah.
as the kids say. It is cinema.
so like most of these lists me and Steve have done, this caused an argument between me and my wife of whether Jaws was a horror movie or not. To me, it is. To her, it's not. To her, it's an adventure movie with a shark, I guess. I don't
Okay.
know.
So I didn't want to get in the bathtub after watching Jaws when I was a kid. Like I think I was 6 or 7 when I saw it, and I didn't want to take a bath because I was worried the shark was going to come out of the drain and eat me.
Yes, it's. I still can't go in the ocean without thinking about that movie. Not that it prevents me from doing it, but
Right.
well, and I live in Iowa, so when's that?
Yeah. You moved as far away from the ocean as possible. It did scare the crap out of you, Jim.
No, Aliens is a great choice.
Alien, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
many of these I didn't even consider.
I just wasn't sure if that was even considered horror. I mean, I
That's
consider
okay.
it horror.
Well, my next one is not considered horror.
Okay.
We just went horror tangents
Horror. I'm sorry.
or Halloween tangents.
Horror.
Okay, so my number 8 is the Geico commercial. The one where they're running from the haunted mansion. Why don't we just get in the running car?
That is a great commercial.
The one's
It
all
is
over Hulu.
fantastic. It's Halloweenie.
Yes.
Okay, I like that more than I like both those movies. I will stop what I'm doing to watch that commercial.
It
is fun.
It is. Yeah, it is a fun commercial.
It
And I
is-
swear-
it is
I
my
swear the
number
actor-
8 all-time favorite Halloween thing.
I swear the actor, I always think it's Tommy Lee Jones, like in the mask behind him. It looks like Tommy Lee Jones.
Well, I can see her.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just some makeup, I guess.
Yeah.
Poor Tommy
But yeah,
Lee.
it's just, why don't we just get in the running car? No, you gotta think. Just-
I
Yeah,
like how
okay. Yeah, okay.
It's like 30 seconds, and it's a perfect commentary on horror movies.
It is.
fantastic.
Let's
Yes,
make the
I
most
love it.
ridiculous choice. Yeah. Cool.
My number-
All right. My number 8, also not horror, but Halloween related, is Parks and Rec. Greg Pakaitis.
Okay.
The whole statue thing, the whole tracking, Leslie trying to catch Greg doing this stuff. And
This
the
is my
fact
number
that,
4.
is it? Okay. The fact that, I'll let you can go ahead and talk about it then.
No. Go ahead. You're fine. It's one of
Just
the
the
few-
fact that she never gets the better of him. He always gets the better of her on this.
the idea that he hires someone to play his mom,
Right.
that he pretends to be a janitor to get the keys at the end of the show. Remember, they show him walking through the court outside. Yeah, it's one of the first episodes that I was like, I'm gonna love this show.
Did you watch Parks and Rec, Chris?
No, I have not watched it.
So do you want to explain, Jim, why this is Halloween related?
Well, it takes place on Halloween.
Right.
It works.
he TPs the inside of the government building.
Sure.
I mean, it's a 16-year-old kid that is her arch nemesis, and it's not really,
Yeah.
but it's. I highly suggest watching. Well, Parks and Rec in general is a pretty great show, but that show it's just good. I think it's the first Burt Macklin. I don't know if he calls himself Burt Macklin, but he pretends to be FBI.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's one of the few on my list that I didn't go back and rewatch because I felt I knew it well enough, and now being asked to talk about it, apparently I don't.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great show. Great episode.
It's on my list.
It's on my list.
What number?
It is.
Oh, different list.
No, yeah,
List.
not that list. But no, the show is. I do want to get to that because I've always heard so much about it, and I like everybody in the cast.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun show. I really like Adam Scott and Rob Lowe when they joined it.
I didn't know they were on it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love Adam Scott. He was great in Party Down and basically everything else he's in.
yeah. He's a fantastic. Yeah, he's on the show the third season on, right? So he's on for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, this just moved up on my list then.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. I mean,
Rob Lowe's great too. It's the best Rob Lowe out there.
Whenever I think of Rob Lowe, I think of Tommy Boy.
see, I think
so
West Wing. So
Okay.
I think it's St. Elmo's Fire.
that's it. Stop the show.
Different strokes for different folks.
And now I think of the Atkins diet. So, yeah. All right. So that was where we at.
That was yours.
That was mine. So number 7, Chris.
Number 7 is The Nightmare Before Christmas. This works as both a fun holiday, like Christmas movie, and a terrifying Halloween movie, I think. Because when you watch it as a kid, as I did, some of it is a little extreme, I think, like Oogie Boogie being full of bugs and stuff. It's a little much. I remember my parents refused to get me the Oogie Boogie action figure because he was too gross. I was like, it's fun though. So that would be that's pretty ominous. I've always loved this movie. It's something I generally watch at least once a year during either October or December. I'm good either way because it works for both. I love the character. Jack Skellington himself is one of my favorite animated characters, period. And it's funny, now my daughter is also into it.
A lot of music in that, right?
It's a musical, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Burton. I don't know that I've made it all the way through it in one sitting.
Oh.
I've tried to watch it with my boys during Halloween. I'm going to have to make it through it in one sitting because, I've enjoyed what I've seen. Halloween, right? Anyway.
Yeah, this is Halloween. You got it.
I've seen every show. Bad.
So me and my wife watched this for the first time last year. And I'm not quite, excuse me, sure how I felt about it. I mean, you're aware of how I feel about musicals, Jim. Not really my thing. I can handle it more in animated movies than I can in live action. It just seems weird to me, people breaking out in song. But it's okay in animation. I can deal with it. But regardless of whether I like the movie or not, Jack Skellington would be an action figure I would collect, regardless of whether he's just so awesome looking. When you look at the figures that are out there for him,
the long legs, the moves.
Yeah.
He just looks cool. I have a few of them, but they're not in my office room, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Tim
Burton's design.
Yours.
I don't always like Tim Burton movies, but his designs for his characters are just great.
Yeah, and Henry Selick ran with them, which was cool. And the dual voices of Jack are interesting. You have Chris Sarandon from Fright Night and other stuff as the speaking voice. Danny Elfman is the singing voice, and they just kind of blend. Like it feels natural, or it sounds natural, I guess.
Cool. That's good information. I had no idea. I honestly didn't even know they had 2 different voices.
I didn't either.
All right, good pick.
Okay, my number 7 is The Office, Halloween.
I'm
Anything
shocked.
with The Office being number 7 means they probably didn't do Halloween the best for me.
Right.
But, you know, they don't fire Creed, so that's why it's on my list.
It's hard to go wrong with The Office, though.
It is. I just, like I said, it's not my favorite Halloween show, obviously, but I don't know. They had my favorite character of all time as one character that might get fired, and they didn't do it, so it had to make the list for that reason alone. And I like that they brought the guy that they did fire back in the finale.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah. Good episode.
Yeah.
All right.
My
number 7 is Friends Halloween episode. Chandler is the pink rabbit, and Ross is Spudnik, and they end up arm wrestling to see who's strongest. And while they're arm wrestling, Monica looks over and says, "Oh my God, Chandler's making a sex face," and Chandler is just grinning and just grinding it out. Just that whole episode, Ross in the potato costume, everything about it, even outside of that, is just fantastic. But it's probably, it is one of my favorite sitcom Halloween episodes. Actually, looking at my list, it is my favorite. But it's down at number 7, so it wasn't the greatest Friends episode, but for a Halloween episode, it was really good.
Yeah, I enjoy that episode. I'm not a big fan of the whole Sean Penn storyline in Friends.
Right.
So, that's probably why it's not on my list, because the only thing I like is the arm wrestling, the Sputnik, and I can't even remember what Joey go as.
Wasn't Joey Superman?
No, that was in the Christmas episode.
Supergirl.
Oh, was it?
He was Superman in the Christmas in the when Ross was explaining Hanukkah to Ben. Joey comes in as Superman because Chandler's dressed. Oh wait, no, you're right. No, that was this one because Phoebe says
something
Joey
about
the
Santa
Easter
in the Christmas episode.
No, Joey came as Santa in the Christmas. You're right. That's right. Because Phoebe says something about why do we have Superman and the Easter Bunny and whatever else, I can't remember the line, together or something.
I'm going to have to watch this episode.
Yeah, I got to go back now, too, because I can't remember. I thought it was a Halloween episode, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I know there's only one Halloween episode in all of Friends.
But they do so many other holiday episodes. Friends is one of those shows, because, sitcoms generally have the holiday ones, but I think Friends perfected some of these holiday episodes.
The Thanksgiving one.
Yes, the Thanksgiving was legendary.
Friends nailed Thanksgiving.
No, the Superman is the Christmas because Chandler's in the Santa Claus outfit because Mona asked Chandler if he can keep the outfit for a costume for an extra day. Yeah. Either way, that one scene in that episode is hilarious. It's hilarious. So that's my number 7. On to your number 6, Chris.
My number 6 is Scream. I also love Scream. It is slashers are my second favorite as far as horror films go. I adore slashers, and Scream to me is one of the most perfect slashers. I like the commentary that it has on the other movies at the time. That kind of like parody, like Jim said, almost. I guess the word is meta too, because it realizes what it is. It's very tongue in cheek. The characters I thought are all likable, including the 2 killers. I think Billy Loomis
were the most likable.
Billy was pretty cool. I mean, Skeet Ulrich.
It was your poor man's Johnny Depp, I thought. But
he tried to be Johnny Depp. He tried.
His partner was the
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah,
Matthew
he
Lillard.
was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Sharon Stone. She's no Sharon Stone.
Yes.
Yeah. Matthew Lillard is magic in that movie, and they make such a great team. One is like fake. One is fake Johnny Depp, and then the other guy's fun.
I mean, it's funny hearing you even call it a slasher movie because to me it's not. To me, it's a comedy horror movie, which I don't even. I mean, I remember them stringing Drew Barrymore up, but that's not what I remember from that movie. I remember them all sitting around watching TV. Don't say I'll be right back, and the ridiculous killing her with the garage door opener. It's just that's what I remember from that movie. And you should have just said that, and we could have talked about it longer. So it's
I'm sorry.
it's a great.
I didn't know we could do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. If anything's on, we say on our list, say, oh well, or tell us to shut up, and we'll wait
Yeah,
till we
for
get
sure.
to it.
Absolutely.
I like hearing both
Yeah.
opinions.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice. All right, number 6 for you, Jim.
All right, number 6 for me is my only non-Halloween episode on my list, but it definitely has a Halloween feel.
It's Halloween adjacent. Yeah.
It's Boy Meets World, and then there was Sean. Have either one of you watched Boy Meets World?
No.
I love Boy Meets
do you
World.
remember
But I
the
thought you were
episode
going a
where they
different
do the
direction.
spoof?
Sorry, say it again.
Do you remember this episode where Sean has a dream that they're stuck in the high school and there's a killer? Jennifer Love Hewitt guest starring
Vaguely,
on it?
yes. Vaguely,
Okay,
yes. I remember.
it's
I
a
remember Jennifer
great
Love Hewitt.
Yeah, she. What's her name on the show? Jennifer Love Furferman on the show.
Yeah.
So, and then he asked her, "Are you the killer?" She says no, and then they start making out. To me, this is probably the best parody of all time. I love this episode of Boy Meets World. I was surprised when I was doing some research and realized that it wasn't the Halloween episode. It was just a dream. And
Yeah. It's just a fun one.
so, yeah, but it was fantastic. Everyone dies. One of them dies. Well, one of them's going to commit suicide because his roommate gets killed, and he didn't know if he could afford rent. And, then, and then the killer comes behind and pushes him out the window. It's just great.
So I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going with Big Bang Theory for when you said non-Halloween.
That almost made my list. That's a New Year's Eve episode. I mean, they have Halloween episodes, but
right.
The one with Zach is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
That's good.
But if you have not seen that, Steve, I highly suggest Boy Meets World, watching that episode at least.
So I got to get through like 3 other shows you've recommended to me because we're still watching How I Met Your Mother, which is just fantastic. I can't believe I never watched that before.
So good.
And I still have to watch Miracle Workers. So,
see, I'm not sure Miracle Workers is for you.
is it a little too quirky for me?
I think so.
Yeah.
See,
I always pictured it as like Coen Brothers style, which is in my wheelhouse at all.
I don't know if I would put it.
So, like, I'm really curious when Chris gets to season 2 of Miracle Workers, how his thoughts are.
Yeah.
Because, it's a completely different story, different characters, different everything. So, I'm really curious how that's going to work for you. It worked for my wife. She loved it. But to me, it was okay.
Yeah.
It's not something I would probably go back and rewatch. So,
Gotcha.
So anyway, Boy Meets World, number 6.
All right. My number 6 is Freddy versus Jason. And I know it's not the greatest movie altogether, but I am a big fan of team-ups. Like you team up She-Hulk and Daredevil, you team up Freddy and Jason, you team up, the Iron Man and
Geek and Midlife
yeah,
Crisis.
sure, whatever. I am just a fan of throwing stuff together, and seeing those two finally meet and go head to head was just fantastic. I mean, if they could have thrown Michael Myers and Pinhead in there and had like a tag team or something, it would have been amazing. But just the ending of that when he's walking and holding Freddy's head, and then Freddy opens his eyes and yeah, just a fun movie. A fun horror movie.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's good.
It's fun. It really is just fun, and it was nice that they had a payoff because in Jason Goes to Hell, there was an end credit scene. I think it was an end credit scene. It might have just been the ending, and
When
Jason's mask. Yeah, Jason's mask was just sitting there, and you see Freddy's glove come up and pull the mask down.
Right.
So it was cool that you had that. I mean, it was like 10 years later, I think.
Yeah,
that you get the payoff.
it was a while. Yeah,
but it was cool to have it.
So, sure it's not a Marvel movie and they just announced it 10 years too soon?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Feige's working on it, or was working on it.
Or a DC movie and they actually made it and then decided to pull it.
That's possible too. You never know with these guys.
Good. All right. So that was my number 6. We are now at our top 5. You, Chris, number 5.
So number 5 is it's not obscure, but it's more of a cult classic. It's Trick or Treat. Have you guys ever seen this movie or heard
I
about
don't
it?
think I have. I've heard of it, yes. But
I've heard of it as well.
So it's like an anthology movie. It's all these mini stories that are connected by a single character called Sam Hain. I believe that's his name, Sam Hain. He looks like a kid with a scarecrow costume and a pumpkin for a head, and he just kind of wreaks havoc throughout the movie. But it's all these stories. Like there's a werewolf story. There's just this mean old man kind of story, and it's got Brian Cox in it. Anna Paquin is in it. It's a really cool film, and it's got a lot of style, a lot of substance, and you're bound to like at least one of the stories they present you. There's even werewolves, which I always think are cool. There's a vampire story. It's a bunch of different things, and it's when it came out, it was kind of a big deal because it was supposed to go to theaters and it didn't. It went straight to video, and at that time, straight to DVD still meant it sucks, so people didn't watch it. But now it's developed such a cult following, it's going to be in theaters again, I think, sometime this month. So that is my number 5.
So, Chris, I recognize that name when you said it, Sam Hain, and that's because I was looking through. Do you watch, or did you ever watch Supernatural?
No, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so there's an episode called "It's the Great Pumpkin," Sam Winchester. And the storyline is, as Halloween approaches, Sam and Dean investigate mysterious deaths linked to an ancient witchcraft order bent on raising a powerful demon named Sam Hain, who can raise every evil being, and they're being forced to call upon whoever. But what made me think about that is Sam Hain is not pronounced Sam Hain, rather it's pronounced Sowen, as in it is a Gaelic word and thus a Gaelic pronunciation. So it's SOW-IN. The only reason I know that is because I literally read that earlier today when I was looking at Supernatural Halloween episodes. And as it goes through the synopsis, that episode is very much like what you just described. So it's obviously based off of Trick or Treat because they face all these evils throughout the entire episode.
That is cool. Well, I think that's the point of that character, Sam, because he is a I don't want to say he's created for the movie. That version is, of course,
right.
But I think the myth of Sam, that's what he is.
Sure. So that's really cool. Nice. All right, Jim, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Trick or Treatment, MASH.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, season 11, episode 2. I put down all those stuff, and I forgot to mention any of them until now. So I had not actually seen this until we decided on this list.
Uh-huh.
That's a great episode of MASH. It was good. Have either one of you seen it?
Yes, I have. I've seen it. I can't recall it. Once you start describing it, I'll remember better.
So they're having a Halloween party, and of course, choppers come in with wounded. And then George Wendt is actually in this episode. He plays a Marine. Anyway, they're doing all these surgeries and talking about spooky stories and stuff like that, of course. And outside, they get a guy in that already had a toe tag on him, so they assume he's dead. Well, he's comatose. He's not dead. Father McCahey?
Okay, yeah.
He's actually at a different camp, comes back at the end to give this guy his last rites and happens to notice him twitching. And so they save him. Anyway, it's a fantastic episode of MASH. If you like the series, check it out.
Love the series.
Pretty good.
That must have been real close to the second to last season, I guess, maybe?
Yes, it's right at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great. Like I said, I had never seen it, and so I was just going through the list of Halloween episodes of TV shows, and it's like, well, I've watched this.
Is MASH a show you ever watched, Chris?
Sorry? Is it a show I've ever watched?
Yeah, MASH.
I've seen stray episodes here and there, but I'm not really familiar with it.
No.
I'm going to have to rewatch the whole series.
Man. It's a comedy. It's comedy based, and they turn a 3-year war into a 12-year sitcom.
Is it one of the longest running sitcoms?
Yeah, it's one of the longest.
Well,
yes.
I don't know about it anymore.
At the time, it was for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's such good storytelling, too. There's
there's a lot of heart.
There's a lot of the episodes that Alan Alda directs.
Oh.
He tends to do a lot more serious points of view and stuff when he's directing a lot more serious stories. And there's still enough comedy in it, but it's such a good series. Just crazy.
Yeah, they walk that line of drama and comedy very well.
Right. All right. My number 5 is Halloween H2O. So, not a huge fan of the franchise, but just the fact that they had brought Jamie Lee Curtis back after we get through those other however many movies there were between it. What was H2O? Probably the 6th?
5. I think
5?
there's 5. Well, so she left at 2, and H2O was 7.
Okay. So, right. And they're in such a, just the fact that they're in that little camp, that little area, fenced in area, such a small area. Mm-hmm. And Jason ends up, or not Jason, Michael ends up tracking him down. Ended up there. Well, he goes after her boy first, or it's not her son. It's
it's her son.
Yeah, it is her son, right? And just the way it all leads to it, it makes it. It's like, okay, how is he just going to find her out there? But it actually works the way they tell the story, and she's just a badass in the movie. Mm-hmm. So, that's my number 5. Have you seen the new? Have you seen the new one yet?
No, it's on Thursday. Well, the early showings are Thursday.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm waiting on it. But H2O is one of my favorite sequels. Yeah, I love H2O.
Yeah.
So is she kind of like the Sarah Connor character? I mean, is that okay? I'm just kind of curious if they're, because I've never seen any of them. So I was curious if when you said she's a badass, the first thing I think of is Sarah Connor.
To compare, she'd be like the Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. She's the Nancy.
Right.
Okay.
All right, that's my number 5. So you're number 4.
My number 4 is Dracula from 1931 with Bela Lugosi.
That's a good one.
I'm a big fan of Universal horror. Like I said earlier, I like classic, old-styled horror movies. And to me, it doesn't get much better than those when it comes to the monsters. And Dracula himself, I think Bela is still probably he is my favorite actor to play the character. He brings something to it that some of these other guys just haven't. I do love Christopher Lee.
It's not for sure you're going to say Dracula himself says this was the best version of him.
He would, I think. I think he would want to say, that's me. So I like that. And this movie, I think, set the standard for certain versions of these characters on screen. Like you have Renfield in this one played by Dwight Fry. And then, that version of him is so popular, they emulated it for Dracula, then loving it, years and years later.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of Renfield, who is not that close to the book, but it works. And even Edward Van Sloan as Van Helsing is iconic in his own way because he was so stoic and just kind of hard-nosed about it. You're a vampire. It was good stuff. And that was my German also. So, that is my...
I understood every word. I didn't even know I can speak it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think we have that kind of special hearing.
I imagine that had to be terrifying at the time. You think back in 1931, you said?
Yeah, it was 31.
Yeah. I mean, that had to just be the scariest thing that people have ever seen.
You watch it now, it's funny because it is very dated, but Dracula is never seen actually harming anyone. It's always in a shadow. He doesn't even have fangs in the movie. But it's the idea of him that is scary.
Right.
And
it's like the first hour of Jaws.
Right. From what I've heard. And it's also kind of an interesting story because they filmed the Spanish version of this right behind the English version. So they use the same sets and everything. It just Bela would do his scene, and then they'd bring the Spanish guy in, do his scene, move on.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Fun fact.
That's great.
Good choice. Good choice. Number 5 for you, or number 4 for you, Jim.
4 for me was Parks and Rec. Greg.
Oh, right. Okay. And my number 4 is The Ring. Again, not huge into horror movies. I've never seen the original. I never will see the original. I see no reason to watch a movie that I can't understand what they're saying. I don't want to read. But this, just when she comes out of...
Comics.
What's
That's
that?
what I was thinking.
Let's talk about comics.
That's different. Although I haven't been reading too much. But when she comes out of the TV in the movie theater, that is, for the first time when you see it and you haven't seen any spoilers, that was just the creepiest thing I'd ever seen. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know it was a remake version. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just know that that movie was creepy. Something about when they do that with young kids, like with the Omen. I didn't put the Exorcist on here, but the same thing with that. Having kids that are just creepy and evil is scary to me. It's just too bad that every horror movie after that tried to, not every movie, but so many tried to copy.
Bunch.
And pretty accurate to real life, really.
Not far off.
And it just didn't work. But The Ring, the original U.S. version, was just fantastic.
I love creepy kid in movies. I think they work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, especially when they get all crippled up and arms going this way and that way, and it's something weird. So that was my number 4.
Evil kids. I like
Evil kids. Yeah.
We're all for it.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me is Halloween, the original.
The original.
So as I said, slashers is my second favorite horror genre, really. And to me, Halloween is the ultimate slasher. It's not just about the jump scares in it, because this one specifically, when compared to the other movies, Michael is mostly stalking these other characters. He spends most of the time just watching them and being a complete creep. And it's fantastic. and it's another case. He kind of is. I mean, that's what he starts out as, essentially. Like, he watched his sister and is like, you know what? I disapprove. And what happens, happens. So it's a good story. I think it's visually, it holds up well, really well, actually. Michael himself he's a scary figure, I think. When you see him from a distance or whatever, it sticks with you. And Nick Castle, who is the Shape in that one, he is regarded as like the most popular version of the guy in the suit because of his mannerisms and the breathing and stuff. And you can see, if you watch that versus the sequels, there is a difference. But I think you really got to be a super fan to notice it.
Yeah.
Plus, Jamie Lee Curtis is immaculate in it.
It is a good one. All right.
I'm going to have to watch some of these movies, I guess.
What you got for number 3, Jim?
Okay, number 3 for me is Home Improvement, Crazy for You, Season 3, Episode 6. Now, you've seen this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah, I love this. It's Jill and Wilson and Al get together and pull a prank on Tim, have someone send him cookies, and it's an obsessed fan, and it's all about them pranking him and scaring him, and it's just that's it. If you haven't seen it, I suggest watching it. I don't think I actually watched this one again.
No.
I knew it was high on my list because it's all their Halloween episodes are pretty good, but
They pull out
this one in particular I remember more than any. So
Nice.
I enjoy that.
Yeah, there were definitely some good ones. I think that's probably a Tim Allen thing. I think he enjoyed the Halloween episodes because with Last Man Standing too, they were great episodes, which we talked about a few weeks back, and I'm surprised I forgot to put that on my list. Was the Last Man Standing Halloween episodes, but yeah, good episode. All right, my number 3, The Lost Boys. Just so good. It doesn't get much better than that for me for vampire movies. I mean, how can you? It's Corey Feldman. Come on.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen The Lost Boys? Oh man,
It's another one that came out right at my prime movie watching age,
right?
And I somehow missed.
Kiefer Sutherland, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim. Yeah, both Corys.
Well, they were in every movie together, weren't they?
Right. Oh man, Grandpa was great.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that they start hunting these vampires, the fact that it breaks the myths, some of the myths, about what hurts them, but it also reinforces some of the other ones. I love the way he tricks the head guy. What's the head vampire's name?
David.
He always finds a way to get invited in to the house because of course you have to be invited in. Just stuff like that. And it had some really scary moments too. It's almost like a rock and roll version of a vampire movie is kind of the way I see it. Really enjoyed it.
I'm a big fan of that one too.
Yeah.
The sequels aren't so good, but the original is amazing.
Yeah.
All
right.
That might make my screen.
You might like it. It's a good time, I think. And it's also not very long. It's an easy watch. Yeah. And it's got some cool visuals too. Like Steve said, it's got some scary stuff that I think still holds up. For the most part, it's all practical, which is nice too. You don't get that anymore. Mm-mm. And it's got the saxophone guy. Steve knows
everything out of the boardwalk happened. It's just a great setting for it that it takes place.
And the soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good too. Yeah. All right. Okay. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Monster Squad. So, from what I understand, you either watch the Goonies or you watch the Monster Squad. I grew up with the Monster Squad. I had this thing on a VHS, and I recorded it twice so that it would play as soon as it ended again. I love this stupid movie, and it's not like anything fancy. It's just a group of kids fight a group of monsters. It's Dracula, Frankenstein, the werewolf, the mummy, and the creature from the Black Lagoon, and that's all there is to it. It's really simple, and it's just a fun Halloween movie to watch. I watch it anytime, but it's one of my favorites. And it's probably partially responsible for my love of all this stuff now, because I watched it. As a young kid. I was really young watching it.
What would you suggest the age for watching that being?
Well, your guys would be too small, I would say.
Okay.
So I would say
that's what I'm wondering.
Oh, okay. I would say now probably like a 10-year-old because things are different now. I think kids are different. Mm-hmm. I grew up watching the Halloween movies and things like that, but if I try to show my daughter that, she's like, "No, we're not watching this."
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I would wait a little bit. Maybe at least 8 years old, I think.
Yeah, well, the way you were describing it sounded like a fun little romp of them just taking on,
No, it's more horror-based, but it is fun. It is more horror-based, but it's fun. Also, the language is not the friendliest for a kids' movie.
Okay.
Cool. I have to check it out. You're number 2, Jim.
Oh, yeah, I guess I am next. My number 2 is How I Met Your Mother, The Slutty Pumpkin.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's great.
So I also watched The Slutty Pumpkin Returns with Katie Holmes, which I wasn't as big of a fan of that one as I thought. It did have a laugh out loud moment that almost made me die because I almost choked on something. But as a whole, I thought the first one was much better. Particularly the Barney as a devil and then the angel over the shoulder coming to pee off the edge of the roof. There's just some great scenes in that episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And you just saw that one recently, right, Steve?
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, him as Top Gun, him as Maverick.
Is so good. So good.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
It's one of the best episodes of How I Met Your Mother, period, I think. Not just best Halloween, but it's just that good.
Yeah, it's a great episode of TV. Mm-hmm. So that's my number 2.
I'm loving Barney.
He gets better as the show goes on, too, I think.
So I think it helps. I think it makes it... I mean, he's a great character. I think if Neil Patrick Harris was straight, it wouldn't be as good. Hmm. I think knowing that Neil Patrick Harris is gay makes him being a straight womanizer that much better. Just kind of subtly. It's not like what makes his character, but I think it adds a little bit to the fact that that's how he is on the show. What's that?
It adds depth.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Oh, man, you're not up to where they bring in Barney's brother, are you?
No.
Oh, how far are you into it?
We're in the middle of season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just started watching it.
Yeah, I remember him tweeting about it. I think I even suggested watching Slutty Pumpkin at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That pineapple.
And that one, I love that one.
That's the last episode.
The
season
pineapple
1.
incidents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great episode. Yeah. And that the girl who plays Trudy in that, man, she bounces around. How she never hit a home run on her own is beyond me.
I don't know.
Anyway, she was in The Big Bang Theory. She was in
Yeah.
I don't know how she's never done anything major on her own. Or,
I guess she's better as like a side character. 'Cause, some actors just do that. They like to just come in and out of stuff. Maybe that's the way she is.
a lot of porn actors are like
That too, I've heard. That's not on this top 10 though.
that. Make me say stuff like that.
All right. My number 2 is Candyman. I was probably the original version. I was probably 13 or 14 when I watched it. And not only did I not want to say Candyman in the mirror, I didn't even want to look in a mirror. Like for like a week probably after watching it.
Yeah, that's why.
Now this is a movie that doesn't hold up. The original to me does not hold up. I watched it again about 3 months ago and it is not good. There's really nothing good about it. But watching it that first time, when it came out, it fit the time period. It was really good and it was really scary. So it's my top.
When and how you see something matters.
Absolutely.
I mean, I thought Weekend at Bernie's was the greatest comedy of all time for like 20 years, just because I saw it in the theater with the right crowd.
Yep.
And it's not that good.
No.
But man, was it
It's
good?
funny.
My heart right now. You are breaking my heart at the moment.
No, it's funny you mentioned that though, Jim, because it was on. I was looking through Hulu or whatever it's on, probably Netflix, to watch the movies, and I put on Weekend at Bernie's, and I watched like the first 5 minutes and had to turn it off. And that was just a couple months back. I was like, this is. Even though I loved it. Again, it was kind of like Candyman. I loved it when it first came out. It was just hilarious, laugh out loud, funny.
When they're towing him and he's hitting the water buoys.
Yeah.
I fell out of my chair in the theater. I was laughing so hard. It's just.
Well, and even part 2.
Never
in
seen
the
it.
sequel. You
Did
never
he
seen
die
the sequel?
twice? I don't understand.
No. Well, he gets reanimated basically through voodoo, right? Or through. What is it? Yeah, something like that. A little bit. So it's pretty funny too. But yeah, the first one was hilarious.
Halloween episode. Let's talk about Weekend at Bernie's.
Right. He was dead walking.
That's the best thing about
Technically, he's like a zombie, so it's still Halloween-like.
Right.
See, we can come back to it.
Well, it's my number 1. I'm just kidding.
No,
Speaking of number 1, Chris, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is Interview with the Vampire. That is my.
How did I not see that coming?
Yeah, it's my favorite horror anything. Interview with the Vampire. It's my favorite genre, favorite characters. That takes it for me. I love.
So the books, you've read them all, obviously.
The majority of them, yeah.
Okay, are they aimed at like a 13-year-old girl, or are they aimed at adults?
They are. Okay, so they're adults. But I read these books when I was 13 and 14 years old. But they are more aimed at adults because they don't get too extreme with certain aspects of it. They're much lighter on the page than they are on film.
Okay. Because I may read this series if it's... So I like young adult stuff, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want something that's that other vampire movie that we talked about, Twilight.
Yeah.
I don't want something like that. So
no.
If I've read these, it would be aimed at me. Let's put it that way.
Do you like the movie?
Well, I haven't seen it. I saw it in theater, and that's the last time I've seen it.
Well, if you like the movie, you'll like the book because the movie is written by Anne Rice herself. So it's people can argue about they changed this. She did it herself. Mm-hmm. So if you like the movie, you'll be into the book because the book is really just a expansion of what you see on screen.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It might be on Hoopla. It should be on Hoopla.
Yeah, you know what? My library card. So where I get Hoopla through is an hour and a half away,
Mhm.
and so I've never actually went there and got a physical library card. So
Mhm.
my library, they canceled it out because I never came in to
Oh.
actually get it. So I have to take that trip and get Hoopla again, which is about the same distance as it is to my local LCS. So.
You could do two birds with one stone.
Yeah. Or I just get the Hoopla card and not worry about
I just get the Hoopla card. Yeah, I would do that.
Walk into your LCS and be like, "Hey, I don't buy comic books anymore, but
Well, no, they never knew me because I only went there. I did everything online. So
gotcha."
Hmm.
Right. All right, Jim, you're number one.
my number one is Frasier, Halloween, season 5, episode 3.
Never seen it.
Have you seen this?
I don't remember the episode, but I've watched. I love Frasier.
Okay,
I've not watched Cheers, but I love Frasier.
So the Niles is throwing a party, Halloween theme party for raising money for the library, and everyone comes dressed as a fictional character from literature.
Mhm.
And Roz just finds out she don't know she's pregnant. She thinks she's pregnant, and so the whole episode is a misunderstanding in a sitcom. Crazy, but it's Niles thinks Frasier got Daphne pregnant. Anyway, it's hilarious. I didn't remember this episode until I sat down and watched them, and I laughed the entire time. It was great. Which is great in Halloween. Laughter is everything.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I highly recommend going back and watching that. It's a 2-parter. It's the first part. The second part's not a Halloween story, but yeah, it's funny. It's a great episode of TV. And,
Cool.
And my favorite.
Frasier, after How I Met Your Mother, Frasier is next on my list. So
Yeah, especially you being a Cheers guy. I mean, of course they can be a little, pretentious, but that's kind of humor too.
I think Frasier started about early or like mid 90s, 93-ish, 94. And I just joined the Air Force and was out doing other stuff, and it was just new at the time that I would, if I had still been at home or if I had been more settled at the time, I probably would have started.
You'll enjoy it, I'm certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frasier is one of those shows you can't go wrong with.
I mean, I've seen the episodes. I'm familiar with all the characters, and I've just never sat down and watched it from start to finish. So.
Yeah, there's still a lot of episodes in the series that I have not seen. I fall asleep, and we have every episode on DVR, and we've had it on numerous times. I just miss episodes here and there, but yeah, it's great. Particularly this episode.
Absolutely.
It might be my favorite episode of the series. No, it's not. It's close.
All right. My number one is The Shining.
That's a good one.
That's your wife talking.
No. If it was my wife talking, I would have had 12 Stephen King. I actually talked to her. I asked her, I said, so what are some horror Halloween stuff that I got to make a top 10? And she starts naming like Pet Sematary and Carrie and Christine, and I'm like, well, yeah, but these are not really my favorites. But The Shining, I mean, I love Jack Nicholson. I love Jack Nicholson. So
I thought for sure that was going to be your show me yours.
Oh, I almost brought it in here, but I had that tooth pulled today, and I had a Norco earlier, and it was much easier to carry in this figure than it was to bring in the Shining figures.
Chris, have you seen his the Shining thing that he had done from Lewis? The Shadow Rabbit clay guy?
Oh, no, I don't think I saw you had a Shining thing done.
Anyway. You should
it's pretty cool. It's got the big Jack Nicholson head, like when it busts through the door, and then it's got his wife, a smaller version, like she was hiding over in the corner. It's really cool. He did a great job on it.
I like to see that.
But just everything about that movie, the twins in the hallway are scary.
I've never seen the movie, and I know the twins.
Mm-hmm.
The kid riding his bike, the big wheel. I've never
seen the movie, and I can ride a bike.
The big wheel down the hallway and coming around the corner, and they're standing there. Jack just slowly starting, or John's Jack just slowly starting to go crazy little by little while he's writing his story, and the end scene is great. It's all just so good. That's why it's my number one. I don't think if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend The Shining, Jim.
I'm trying to think if there was one movie that you guys Scream that was on his list. That was on your guys' list that I have seen.
Well, Scream counts. It's a good one.
Yeah, well, and it was on my list too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the only horror movie out of everyone that you guys talked about that I've seen.
Yeah, mine were. I think there was only the one TV show.
What's
Yes,
that?
just the one. There was only one TV show on mine.
I thought you had a video game. I thought you had a video game.
No, I was just thinking of it like the whole thing, the whole spectrum.
Okay, I was all excited. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I was waiting to hear.
No, I mean there are like Legacy of Kain is cool, Resident Evil, but I wouldn't put those like on a top 10.
I was telling Chris and DM that I watched my roommate play The Thing on Xbox 360 or something. I can't remember what it was on, but just watching the cutscene and watching him play was just freaking me out, But it was fun to watch. So
Yeah,
it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, I remember Resident Evil did that to me when it first came out. Just when something would jump out at you, if you had sound turned up just right, and it would make you jump.
Yeah, I just remember a guy commits suicide, and it just like, whoa, well, this isn't a game I want my daughter to play,
Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So some of my honorable mentions, I mentioned Supernatural, and Chris, you said you haven't seen that. I think if you like Buffy, I think you would enjoy Supernatural a lot. They're really along the same lines. It's a lot more heaven and hell type stuff with Supernatural than there is with Buffy, but and some of the crossovers they do actually one of the best episodes of Supernatural is it's a Scooby-Doo crossover, and they go animated.
Oh, really?
And they make the Supernatural group animated. They do the whole series, the whole episode that way. They do a lot of episodes like that, but it's really good show. So that's one of my honorable mentions. And my other one, and I'm surprised nobody else put them on here, is the Treehouse of Horror, Simpsons. I don't have any specific episodes, but just the compilation of 30 years of Halloween episodes from The Simpsons.
Of what? Oh, The Simpsons.
The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror.
I've watched an episode or two of The Simpsons, but
yeah,
haven't seen much of it.
Cool.
I think that's the longest running show, actually.
Yeah, it's like 30 years.
It is. Yeah, they're over 30 years.
Okay, I know you have honorable mentions too, right, Chris?
Yes, I have a few.
Let me do mine first for you. Get your scary stuff in.
Okay.
I'm surprised Young Frankenstein didn't make mine or Steve's. I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, that's why it's not on mine. But I thought for sure it might.
It's Frankenstein.
Sorry, I don't think I've watched the entire movie. Anyway, you were talking about Mel Brooks earlier, and
Gene Wilder is fantastic.
And then also Poltergeist, which I said was going to probably knock off Nightmare on Elm Street.
They're here.
Yeah, that's the first horror movie I remember ever seeing. And it wasn't in a theater; it was at home.
Yeah. No, that was that goes back to what we were talking about with them all being scary like that. Like that was real everyday stuff. Like slashers are like, okay, I don't want to walk outside and
get stabbed.
Do that, but the other ones are like, okay, something's happening in my house and I can't go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't like that film.
No, I don't either. That's why I don't watch
I think there's enough worry in the world right now that keeps me up at night. That inviting it makes no sense to me.
Right.
So you're a special breed, Mr. Evans.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, we've got Adam Janis in 2 weeks, so we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do with him, but
yeah. So what you got for honorable mention, Chris?
So I have a few. One that I want to say first, though, this is one you guys can watch with the kid. I think it's really fun. It's called The Halloween That Almost Wasn't. I tweeted about this the other day, too. It is a TV special that aired, I think, sometime in the 70s. It has Judd Hirsch as Dracula, which is still hilarious to me. Because to me, I think of Judd Hirsch, I think of Taxi. And so to see the guy from Taxi as Dracula was amazing to me.
What was his spin-off show? Dear John. I think of Dear John, and I think of Independence Day for some reason.
I didn't know he had a spin-off of Taxi.
Oh yeah.
No, not a spin-off of Taxi, but he had he had a show.
Okay. Yeah, I like Judge Hirsch. But so the Halloween that almost wasn't. It's a TV special, and it's basically about what if the witch did not want to fly over the moon to start Halloween, and it's Dracula and a bunch of other monsters basically bumbling around trying to figure out how to convince her. It's a family show. It's really fun. It's about 25 minutes. You can only find it on YouTube now because the thing is ancient. Nobody cares about it but me. So there's that.
Well, family friendly. I will throw it on for the boys.
Yeah, I think the boys will get a kick out of it.
They don't make it through a whole lot of live action now. It's still all animated.
That's
they're
fair.
getting close.
Well, it is goofy, so they're pretty animated.
Well, I mean, like they watch Blippi, I guess, but.
Oh yeah, I remember Blippi. He's like modern day Pee Wee Herman. I know he's something else though. But so then the other two are both vampire related, but Dracula Dead and Loving It. I adore Leslie Nielsen in that movie.
Oh, okay.
And it's just so much fun. It's
Priscilla Presley's in that, right?
No,
no,
she's a Naked Gun.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't think she's in Dracula.
I just remember seeing him leaning over in the red dressed one.
Yeah, that's the only scene I can picture in my head.
Yeah,
not.
it's the only picture I repeatedly picture in my head.
I actually don't remember that scene. A lot of times when I think of it, I think
it might have just been an ad.
It might have been. 'Cause I remember the scene with him in daylight saying, "I'm eating chicken in the daylight." It's just hilarious. And of course, Renfield in that is great. He's played by Peter McNichol, I think is how you pronounce it. He was Janosch in Ghostbusters 2 and a bunch of other stuff. So that's one honorable mention.
I can't believe Ghostbusters didn't make my list.
I kind of expected it because of the shirt.
It took me going to my closet and finding something. I tried to theme it, with the show, and I was like, "Oh, Ghostbusters! That should have been on my list." So,
No, it wasn't Priscilla Presley. It was Amy Yazbek.
So close.
There you go.
Who was also in Robin Hood Men in Tights, The Mask, Pretty Woman. All those.
Was she a Pretty Woman?
I don't know.
I think she was one of the friends.
She was married to John Ritter. I didn't know that.
John Ritter wasn't a Pretty Woman. Stop it.
No.
You're just making stuff up.
He was an extra.
Well, I think that's an underrated movie now. I think Pretty Woman holds up good still. Well,
God, that was huge.
I think it does.
Yeah, it does. But I think it holds up.
And the soundtrack was huge too. It was.
Don't remember any of the songs, but anyway, it's a great movie.
Pretty Woman. King of Wishful Thinking.
I know that song.
That was when Richard Gere was at the height of the gerbil rumors. So.
Gerbil?
You don't know the gerbil rumors?
No. What is that?
There was.
It's not family friendly on our show.
Oh, okay.
It's where you can store.
He had to go to the doctor to get.
Oh, that's a real thing? That was a real thing?
That was a real rumor.
It's real. It's a rumor.
Now the question is, we were trying to figure this out. How did rumors back then, without the internet, spread from coast to coast? Like, was it all just Saturday Night Live, or was it word of mouth that traveled across the country? Because there were so many rumors like that about different people that made it that everybody knew.
I think it's got wilder too at that point because it would be passed down from person to person so much. By the time it got to he's got gerbils, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I can see our idea forming now of our show with Adam and Janice.
Right.
Do you have gerbils?
Dark and gritty.
Dark and gritty.
That's disgusting.
Nice. You know, I actually had downloaded some background music to play during the show, and I completely forgot. That one. Got to get them in. If I spent time downloading them.
I like this one.
Yeah. That's a very 1930s.
Mm-hmm. Very fan of the opera.
Lugosi. Yeah. The organ is great.
Yeah, I don't think it's that great, but
it's great. If they had
give me a piano any day of the week.
Did you ever watch Dark Shadows, the TV show, not the movie, but the TV show?
No, but I've watched the movie.
You've watched the movie.
So me and my wife went and saw the movie, and we had a chance to see that or something else that became a classic. We made the wrong choice.
What about you, Chris? Did you ever see the old series?
Yes, I like Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
And I watched some of the revival of it too.
Just watching a vampire soap opera is just great.
It's wild.
Yeah. So, all right.
And so thanks to this show, there's like 6 things I have to watch and 13 books I have to read,
And
right?
you know what's funny though is none of those 6 things you have to watch are on the list that we made last week of things you need to watch. So
So we're going to have to redo it.
Everybody should watch Mad Men, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
I'd need to get on that.
So Lost in Comics has Going on a Run. What are we calling it when we have to watch something?
Well, since we copy names from all the other shows we watch, we could call it Going on a Walk. Going on a watch.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get
I like
there.
that.
I ain't running, but I'll watch it anyway. Yeah. No, but Mad Men is definitely. We're doing a rewatch of Breaking Bad right now. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to throw Mad Men on because
It's really good. It takes a few episodes to hook you, but once it gets you, it's good.
See, I watched the pilot, and then I was like, then I stopped. That's my problem, right?
Well, it's one of those shows.
And then, I was telling Steve this. My boys go to bed at 7, and I generally try to go to bed by 10:30. So with everything on, I have 2.5 hours of TV time, and then 2 nights a week I do something like, or 3 nights I watch Lost in Comics, watch your show, and then record this, whatever this is, and so I don't know. I just can't find the time to watch everything I want to watch. And when I do sit down on the couch, I throw on Friends or
right because it's easier. You don't have to think.
Oh, yeah.
Just chill out. Yeah, Netflix and chill.
we don't have Netflix, so Disney Plus, because generally that's what's on the TV with the kids just going to bed. So
Right. So anyway, all right. Well, I think that is going to do it for tonight. Thanks so much, Chris, for coming on. That was a lot of fun. Always enjoy talking about this stuff.
Thank you guys for having me on.
hey, seriously, I appreciate it. Like I said, I've been watching your show for well over 2 years now. I don't know how long you've been
Something
doing
like that.
but it nothing more fun than hearing people talk about things they like
That's it.
without purposely trying to be negative. So
Agreed.
Right.
well played, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. And anybody who's still watching at this point, make sure you get out there and you watch Gathering of the Geeks. They gather on Sundays. I've heard rumors.
I'm there every Sunday. Come talk to me.
And also check out his other shows. Again, man, why is this title so hard for me? Elves, Hobbits, and Potatoes, right?
An interview with the geek.
And Interview with the Geeks. Check out both of those as well. And whatever you're watching, enjoy what you are watching. Anything else to add, guys?
I think I'm good.
All right, so next week we are going to be taking a break. We will be back in 2 weeks with a very special guest, and that is going to be Adam Janis. We're going to try and figure out something to do with him that doesn't include, well, it can include anything. We're not going to lie.
Pizza toppings.
Pizza toppings and stuff like that, yes.
Why not?
So, absolutely. So thanks for joining us, episode 7 of Midlife Vices, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.
Later, skater. For you.